listening to the Becoming More Me podcast with me, Theresa Lear Levine. You're already enough. But if you're anything like me, you thrive when you're stretching and developing yourself, creating more of the person you feel called to be. This podcast is here to inspire and support you. Let's release the negative, reinforce the positive, and elevate our vibe together as we tap into our limitless potential to transform and grow. Hi, thanks so much for joining us today for this episode of Becoming More Me. I am super excited to have Kelsey Aida on the show with me today and be able to chat with her about all things manifesting and so forth. This is so my jam. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Kelsey, I actually had the pleasure of being on her podcast just a week or so ago. And she is a self-empowerment author. She is an advocate for, just really awesome self-love and manifestation, and loves to help people to own their power and win at life with all those kind of things, whether they're healing or manifesting or affirming things. She's amazing at all of it. And she's here to talk to us today. So welcome to the Becoming More Me show today, Kelsey.
Yay. Thank you. And I love the name of your show. I just have to start with that because it's not that we really need to change or there's nothing wrong with you. It's just blossoming into your fullest self. So I really love that.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. It's what felt right when I first started learning EFT. I felt like that entire process was me becoming more of me. So it kind of bloomed out of that and that phase of my life, but we're always becoming, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
So first, I wanted to say congrats because I know that your new book just came out this week.
Yeah, yesterday.
That's amazing. Can you tell us the title? Because I'm sure I'll butcher it because I don't have it right here in front of me.
Yeah. It's called Letters to the Universe, and it's a manifesting journal that I basically created that was inspired from like my special manifestation process of like what I would do whenever I would go to script something or write it into existence. I basically turned it into a journal, and it's really fun.
That is so cool. My copy's on the way. I was hoping it would be here by today so I could look at it while we were talking.
Dang it.
But
almost.
That's all right.
I'm sure it'll come like later this afternoon, right after we're done recording.
Of course. Yeah. It'll be on my doorstep when I leave my office from this interview, I'm sure. So what got you into manifesting and all of those things originally?
Yeah. So I suffered from depression for a while, like a couple of years in my late teens, early 20s. And in order to like climb out of that long, dark black hole, I had to really open my mind to new perspectives. And I had to be willing to change how I approached my life and how I looked at my life. When I started doing that, I started stumbling upon very beneficial teachers, mentors, courses, lectures, perspectives, books, you name it. I just went into like a self-empowerment deep dive. And when it was working for me and I was feeling better, I was like, wow, I can't believe I just got better from 3 years of depression with no medicine. I feel even better than I felt before I started feeling like bad. And I felt good before I became depressed. So it was all a very confusing experience. But when I started climbing back out and feeling super good, I was like, everybody needs to know these things. Like if everybody had these tools, we would feel so much better. We could create all of our dreams. And then that just became like my kind of mission, was like to help empower people in the ways that worked for me. So I would experiment, I would try something, it would be working, and then I would share. And then I wanted to be an author. So I started a blog, and then I started writing books and courses, and it has evolved over the years into many, many things. But really, I'm just someone who stands for quality of life, because I know that without it, you don't even want to live. Like it's that dramatic.
Amen to that.
Yeah, people think it's all about surviving. That's the most important thing. It's actually not that. It's actually having a quality of life where you can enjoy, where you can grow, where you can learn, where you can connect. And without
what would
those
it
things,
take to thrive?
Exactly. Thriving matters. So that's what I'm here
really
to
does.
teach. And that's kind of how I got into all of this.
That's awesome. And it always makes me so sad to think of the massive amounts of people that are just scraping by emotionally or in other ways that just are missing out on the thriving.
Yeah.
So
And
very
sometimes I think we have to go through that to get to the thriving. Cause I know like my depression for me was almost like a catapult into the opposite direction, right? Like the contrast in our lives a lot of times helps to manifest like the opposite of that, which is epic and awesome. It means there's hope if you're going through something really shitty. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say
yeah,
bad
you
words.
go for it. You talk however you like to talk on here.
If you're going through something really dark or sad or traumatic, just know that like you can and will experience the opposite in time because the universe wants everything to come full circle.
Which is such an important lesson because nobody's life stays on the up and up all the time. We
Right.
always have to be ready for when the unexpected bad or surprisingly negative thing happens and how we're going to cope with it. And I think that a lot of the things that you do are really great for helping people to cope and bounce back. And I'd love if you would just shed some light on what manifesting can look like, what it is for people that I think a lot of people feel like it's more woo-woo than it is in reality, and just kind of shedding some light on that, or maybe taking us through an example of what manifesting something really looks like, not the I wished for it and it came.
Right. Okay. So basically, we are natural creators. We came into this body, to this earth, to this lifetime because we knew we were going to get our hands dirty and make some shit happen and have a lot of fun and turn our ideas or inventions or desires into reality, right? So
Aren't we lucky?
We knew this. I know, right? So fun. So we came here to play and we're manifesting everything all the time, whether we are conscious of it or not, right? So your belief that you suck at math could be causing you to test poorly in math, right? Your preference for, I don't know, baked goods could manifest as someone brings some cookies to the party. Like this is always happening all the time on big and small levels. But to manifest consciously and with intention is to basically become aware of your thoughts, your actions, your behaviors, your patterns in order to align them with where you want to go. Right. So it's not always just, hey, universe, send me $1 million and it just falls in your lap. Right. That's what a lot of people say will happen. But usually it's more like, hey, universe, I want to experience how abundant I can be. Like, I'm ready. Give it to me. And then the universe is like, well, okay, first, why don't you look at all your limiting beliefs you have around money? Second of all, how about you take action on this $1 million idea that you've been sitting on for 10 years? And third of all, I'll send you all the right people and resources to make that happen. And then, it builds, you build it, you create it. So I think a lot of people don't resonate with the woo because the action piece is never really mentioned, but you are meant to co-create your creations, like sometimes in the 3D in a very physical way. Like unless you're ordering pizza, you're probably not just going to wish for pizza on your Uber Eats and then it shows up at your door. Like anything other than that probably is going to involve you taking some sort of action, even if it's like, okay, I want to meet my husband. Well, if you never leave your house or if you don't get on a dating app, like I don't think he's just going to show up. So there are definitely ways in which you want to align energetically, like with your thoughts, your mindset, your visualizations, your beliefs, but then also like action wise, what actions are you going to try or take or change in order to get yourself in that direction?
And that's where I think some people almost like get like, oh, like depressed, like, oh, so manifesting isn't that magical. I got to do stuff still. And then it's like, oh, well, it's just like anything else I'm going to do. It's like, I got to actually do the thing. But I do think that when you decide to co-create with something as big as the universe, then you've got something on your side that you don't have if you're just going it alone. Would you agree?
Yes, for sure. I think there's a hard way to create things and an easier way to create things. And I would say like walking a path of consciously manifesting and energetically aligning with what you want is the easier way to make it happen. And when you ask for help, you can receive it, whether that's from God, whether that's from the universe, whether that's from your higher self, however you want to like phrase it in your mind, it's all the same at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I think also people feel like they have to try it with smaller things first
Right.
before they try it with bigger things. And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
brings to mind this story. I think it was Jennifer Weigel, who's an author. I don't know if you've ever read any of her books. She has a book called I'm Spiritual, Damn It, and several others that are like, I just love her writing style and her in general. But in one of them, she was talking about how she basically manifested this killer parking spot in downtown Chicago, like over 100 times, like right when she needed it. Like they would always clear out or whatever. And then like one day she was like, why have I not been using this to manifest something better than a parking spot? And, what would you say about people that want to like try it on something big, like, I don't know, like a financial goal or a relationship goal or something like that versus a parking spot or a pizza?
Yeah, I would say don't make it seem like a bigger thing in your mind because energy is energy. It's
Yeah.
not bigger or smaller. Like to the universe, the goal does not seem bigger or smaller. It's just like this is the end result, you know? And a lot of reasons why I think we have this narrative in the law of attraction teaching world of like try something easier first or something smaller first is because usually we have less resistance towards having something like a parking space or a free coffee or lunch with a friend, but then usually the things we've been wanting for a long time, if we haven't figured out how to create those yet, there might be some blockages there, which is why it seems like, oh, why is this so much harder to create than like this other thing? And it could just come down to there's a story in your mind about something that happened from the past that is stopping you from taking action or stopping your energy from moving in the right direction, or like you think you want something consciously in your mind, but a different part of you inside of you is like, no, we actually don't want that. And you have to like work to get that part of you on board. There's a lot of different ways resistance can show up. And usually that's why it's quote unquote harder to manifest the quote unquote big stuff because we don't know what those blockages are. So what I do with my one-on-one clients and what I teach in my books where I talk about manifesting is like, how can we uncover this resistance, work through it, release it, do whatever we got to do to create amends there so that all your energy can be flowing in the same direction? Because when we have resistance, some of your energy is going towards what you want, but some is going in the opposite direction. And then you have like an energetic stalemate and you don't really move to where you want to go.
Yep. The stuckness, the self-sabotage, all of that comes and hangs out for way longer than we want it to. And I think one of the biggest resistances that we have is the resistance to wanting to look at the whole picture. Because, when people are thinking about manifesting or affirmations or whatever, they just want to think about the good part of it. And it's like they don't want to acknowledge, or they'd prefer to just gloss over whatever it is that's sitting in their energy system, eating them up consciously or unconsciously, and just try to, power through and, make it work, but it just doesn't.
Yeah, this is an important conversation because resistance, a lot of times we hear resistance and we think, oh, it's a limiting belief or like what I just described, like part of me doesn't want it. But a lot of times we're resisting where we are now, like we're resisting the reality of our life, which is still resistance, which is still going to F up your energy, or you are resisting how you really feel. And that's still a form of resistance, still like causing energy blockages if you're resisting how you feel. So it's confusing, I think, for people in the manifesting and law of attraction world when they start to learn, because you learn, oh, my thoughts lead to things. And the more like great I feel, the better and easier it's going to be for me to manifest great feeling outcomes. And it leads people to believe that they should never feel bad. You should never feel uncomfortable. You should never feel sad. You should never feel bad. You should never get mad, because then you're going to manifest from that space and it's going to be bad. You're going to be a vibrational match to bad things, right? That's what everybody thinks. But the truth is, if that feeling comes up for you authentically and you're too law of attraction nervous to like embrace it and let it clear and let it heal on its own, you're actually going to like suppress it inside of you. And then it truly does become your point of attraction, but you don't even know. Like that's going to be pulling things and experiences and people to you because you haven't healed it, released it, cleared it. It's just like stuck inside. So I think authenticity is key. Feel how you feel. because the more authentic you are, the higher your vibration is going to be, regardless of your authentic truth being positive or quote unquote negative. Like
I've always loved the adage, you've got to feel it to heal it.
Yes, it's so true. I say that all the time. You really do have to feel it to heal it. So being in a space of non-resistance to your emotional experience is a great place to be when you're trying to manifest, because basically you can think of resistance as like the ultimate enemy when it comes to manifesting. I don't believe in making anything an enemy, but for sake of like learning it, resistance is the enemy, right? And so non-resistance is
the teacher, way. Maybe.
Resistance there we go. Teacher. Better rephrase. But yeah,
it is a great teacher when we come up against those things that have been blocking us, and then we get to see a different way through. Then we grow so much.
Yeah. And I know you do that all the time with your clients too, because tapping is a great way to release resistance and work through stuff and heal things. So that's my resistance soapbox, which is why when I wrote Letters to the Universe, and I wrote another book recently with my publisher called My Pocket Guide to Manifestation, they wanted it to be really positive and really uppity. And I was like, well, it's going to be positive. It's going to be good. But like, also, I'm not going to write these books unless you let me talk about resistance, because this needs to be addressed. And I'm going to help people work through it, because that's actually how you get results. Like when people are doing their vision boards and doing their visualizations and doing their scripting and affirmations and everything, and they're like, what the F, I did everything and it's not working. It's just because there's probably some simple form of resistance there that you're not aware of yet and you haven't dealt with yet. But that's why I like a
holistic approach.
Right. That's why I like to teach all the sides, because they all matter.
Yeah. So I mean, that acceptance and everything is a big part of it. And I think part of acceptance is our own acceptance of ourselves and that self-love element. And I know you're into that radical self-love. So tell me, how do you help people to cultivate that in the ways that you like to work?
Yeah. So for me, the radical self-love journey is something that was very essential personally. And that's why I began teaching it, because I went through some relationship trauma, all the abandonment wounds, all the stuff, and other things in my life where I wasn't being self-loving towards myself. And I realized that there was a way where I could love all the parts of me, even the quote unquote bad ones, even the ugly ones, even the not good ones, without necessarily having to like every part of me. Because a lot of times we confuse the word love and like, right? Like you'll say, I love pizza, but that doesn't mean you actually love pizza. It means you really, 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 really like pizza, right? It's not the same as like loving yourself.
Right.
I believe the true definition of love to be taking someone or something as a part of yourself. So if I love my crystal that I have here on my desk, this is my crystal. I think of it as a part of myself. Therefore, I can do no harm to my crystal without hurting myself, right? It's like when you love your kids, like you can't do anything wrong to them on purpose, because then that would hurt you, because like their feelings are your feelings in a sense, like they are a part of you, right? You take positive ownership of them. Same way, like a man would take positive ownership of his car or something like that. Like he really loves his car, right? So what I teach and what I call radical self-love is taking positive ownership of all the parts of you, your inner critic, your anxiety, your unwillingness to change, your self-sabotaging nature. We can get to a place of loving all of those things without necessarily having to like love what they, the detrimental parts that they bring to your life. But when you get to their pure positive intention, which they always have, because you cannot be against yourself, you realize, oh my gosh, my anxiety is just trying to prepare me so that nothing bad happens. That's so nice. Oh my gosh, my inner critic is just trying to help me get to the highest level of who I can be. Oh my gosh, my self-sabotaging nature is just trying to protect me from being heartbroken. Like when you get to the root of what these parts of you are trying to do, when they became a part of you, what they truly want for you, you actually can't not love them, because they're in essence like good and always trying to help, even if they don't know how to in the best way yet. So a lot of my work with clients and work that I do in my radical self-love retreats is a lot of parts work where we'll dive into the perspectives of these parts that we don't necessarily like so much. And we just naturally start to love them from understanding them, having compassion for them. So that's like a big facet of it. But really, like, ultimately at the end of the day, I just believe that people who love themselves, first and foremost, care about how they feel. Right. So that's where the emotional healing comes in. So you can feel better in your life. You can feel good majority of the time. We're not asking for 100% because that is not a self-loving expectation, right? It's not possible if you're a person. So radical self-love has a lot to do with loving these different parts, healing our emotions in a long-term way, learning how to support ourselves through the hard stuff, and just really living your life by the question of like, what would someone who loves themselves do? And then making choices based on that.
That's great. And do you like to use affirmations as part of that process of building that up?
Yes. So obviously the biggest one is I love you and of giving that medicine to yourself when you need it. And
it sounds so simple. And I know that's why you laugh, but like even just like looking yourself in the eye in the mirror and saying that can be so hard for people.
Yeah. And
so
sometimes
hard.
when I
and some people do love that pizza more than they love themselves.
Right. It's true. Yeah, it's true. It's sad, but true. But also, like, I understand pizza's
a great affirmation to just to love yourself. And I love
to love yourself. And like a lot of people have resistance to that because they don't love themselves, right? They might be in a coping mechanism, a loop pattern where they hate themselves to try and motivate themselves to be better. So if that's the case and you don't like the affirmation, I love you, you can soften it to, I'm willing to learn how to love myself. I want to love myself more. It's my intention to understand myself better. I want to have more self-compassion. I'm willing to see myself differently. There's so many variations that will get you there.
Something that opens up the door. It gets you a little crack, something so that the good can come through.
Yes, opens up the door. I love that phrase. I wish I would have used that in my first book, because my first book, the one with my picture right here, hashtag actually I can, it's all about like reworking affirmations so they're authentic and they open the door, right? We don't have to jump the Grand Canyon and be like, I hate myself to I love myself in 5 seconds. We can just go from, okay, I'm not happy about myself or with myself or whatever, but I want to be. I'm open to being, I'm willing to being, I'm going to work towards that. That feels more empowering to someone who can't get to the I love you right away, because what happens when we try to use affirmations that don't feel right in the moment, or they make us feel fraudulent or inauthentic, is they actually do more harm than good. So it's better to soften them and rework them and fix the wording so that it feels good to you in that moment, wherever you are.
I totally agree, because I think some people jump to the affirmations before they do the necessary work or steps beforehand, and it can be ugly, or it can just make them completely shut down and not want to do the work.
I think it can cause people to get discouraged when they go too far ahead. Like, well, I'm a millionaire. I'm just going to say that to myself 5 times a day in the mirror every day until it happens. And then they're like, okay, I'm still not a millionaire. Okay, actually I'm broke. Okay, I feel like a liar. But instead, you know, we can definitely work with that, rework that, soften that, and go from there. So it's more authentic and empowering in like a really true way.
Absolutely. I love that. I think that's super duper important in a world where like it's so easy to get a deck of affirmation type cards or something and feel like you're supposed to feel it all. And then you're like, I don't. What's going on here?
Yeah. So that's why in my books, my first 2 books, they're all like affirmation oriented. I always say like, go with the ones that resonate with you in the moment. Like if you're not feeling that one today, that's fine. Leave it for another day. Try it on later. Like I always think of affirmations as perspectives, right? So like, hopefully it's a beneficial perspective that you're taking on. And I always think of perspectives as like outfits. So what outfit do I want to try on today? How does it feel on my skin today? Like every day is different, you know, like how do I feel like I look in this? How do I feel when I wear this? How do I feel when I say this affirmation, or when I think of myself through this lens? And just experimenting, playing around.
And then when that
add
feels
a belt,
aligned,
take it off, wear some pants, you know, And then, then when it's aligned,
so like, if
oh.
one of those perspectives feels aligned, then what would you do next? Would you like lean into that with like asking for a sign, or what would you do next to keep it coming, basically?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like when an affirmation is aligned, I would just like bathe in the juiciness of that for a moment to just like really take it in, or make it like your mantra for the day or the week or the month or the year. Like, let's say you find an affirmation that feels really good, and it's let's think of an example. Like, I'm a badass creator. Like, if that feels really good and juicy and powerful to you, like, you can meditate on that. You can just sit with it energetically and like really embody that badass manifesting energy.
Yeah.
And just walk around all day in that space, having that glow, having that aura from the affirmation. Or I like to work with affirmations in ways where I'll write them down and I'll just be on a roll. Like, oh, if I'm a badass manifester, then I'm also this, that, and this, and this, and this, and this. And then I'll just go into it, like how epic I am, right? Because you're in that flow, you're feeling the vibe. Or something fun I really like to do is to meditate on different affirmations in the morning. And I'll start with like one, and then I'll just keep it rolling. So with each inhale, you'll say an affirmation, and with each exhale, you'll say an affirmation. Okay. And you challenge yourself to like not repeat them. So I'd be like, breathing in, I'm feeling like I could be more relaxed in the next few moments. Breathing out, I'm feeling excited to feel more relaxed. Breathing in, I'm becoming relaxed. Breathing out, this is great. Breathing in, today's going to be a good day. Breathing out, I'm here for it. You know, just like talking, doing that talk track through your head as you breathe in and out, and go slowly to just kind of hype yourself up is a fun way to work with affirmations. And then I'm like a big sticky note person, so I'm always like sticking them around everywhere.
That's awesome. I have notes everywhere too. Do you see a difference in the effectiveness of things that you're doing to manifest, or things that you're trying to affirm, whether you write them down, type them, voice them?
Good question. I think it depends on the person, but I do believe that writing things by hand is more powerful than typing them. But sometimes it's helpful to like have it in your notes on your phone or something, so you can keep re-looking at it. But I think handwriting is always a powerful thing. And so is speaking. So if I was going to look at the three of like typing, writing, speaking, I would vote like writing and speaking would be more effective, but typing is not too. Not helpful.
It's been my personal practice for like over half a dozen years. And it's something that I usually require clients do when I start working with them in like a long-term scenario, to create a series of visualizations, affirmations, goals, kind of all like written, but then to speak it passionately into like a voice recorder or whatever, and start every day listening to it. And to also have that written version where you can, I mean, if you want to read it live and out loud, you can, have it in your bathroom, look in the mirror while you're reading it or whatever. But I like to actually listen to it while I'm looking at myself in the mirror. So I don't have to be thinking about it, but I'm like hearing the things that I want to plug into my subconscious and my consciousness, and just plugging it all in first thing in the morning, kind of like filling the tank, So
yeah, that's epic. I like that process. And like for me too, I like to think of speaking things into existence and like affirming myself to greatness as a thing to do also in conversation with others. So like if someone's like, oh, what's new with you or whatever, you can be like, oh, like I'm working on becoming a best-selling author, or I'm in the process of like releasing this stuff. Or like, if I want to say that, let's say I want to say something like more negative about, well, not negative, but like quote unquote negative about myself. I'll be like, oh, I used to in the past, like believe that. Like the past could be up until this 1 second right now, but it was in the past technically, right? So I'm like, well, that's how I used to feel. That's how I used to think about it. In the past, I would have ... Because then you allow yourself the opportunity to make this moment very new. You open up that doorway.
I think I love it even more when the past is like now, pretty much.
Right. Exactly. The past is like a week, right now, and then the past is right now, and then it's right now, and that's right now, and that's right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's powerful. That's really like making a choice in the moment to perceive and to do and believe things differently, and that's really, really big. Yeah. So, what are people going to learn when they get your new book, and what are they going to be doing as they go through the pages and journal and so forth?
Yeah. So letters to the universe, they're going to learn a little bit about resistance, a lot about manifesting. There's kind of like a couple small chapters in the beginning to get you in the right frame of mind. My personal manifestation do's and don'ts, tips, when to work with this book, when not to, yada, yada. And then there's a special like brainstorming process that I used to take myself through and I take clients through, and I've written it in the book that has just some really like big hitting questions to ask yourself before you write your letter to the universe. So before you place your cosmic order, before you go into hardcore manifestation mode of like dreaming it all up, how can you just get to know why you want what you want better? How can you see where there might be some blockages that we can clear right now with a couple of questions? So there's 8 brainstorming questions, and then there's that are like fill in the blank type questions. And then there's an actual blank letter to the universe that you get to fill in with your desires, and you can write it out in the first person present tense and take yourself there in your mind as if it's already happening. Or if that feels too fake, you can, be like, hey, universe, I'm really excited to experience this. I can't wait to meet so-and-so. I'm really looking forward to yada, yada, because it'll still get you in the energy of it. Even though a lot of teachers would be like, never say you want something because that's going to keep you stuck in the energy of wanting. And it's like, no, it's not. It's really not. That's a very limited perspective. If it gets you excited, if it gets you optimistic, if it gets you like pumped up about that vision, it's doing its job. Okay.
That's good.
Whether you use the word like, want or not.
Yeah. I love the idea of talking to the universe like it's your best friend kind of thing. Yes. And I know I've done that on many occasions. Oftentimes when the things that I'm wanting to make happen, manifest, receive, however you're looking at it, are things that just the people I normally talk to just wouldn't understand anyway. And sometimes it feels like the universe is the only one that does.
Yes, the universe is very understanding because it knows all things in existence, because it is all things in existence. So I do like to play around with it in that friendly way too. Like I'm super like casual and like very homey like with my universe. So I'll be like, hey universe, this is what's up. This is what we're creating. Thanks in advance for helping make it happen. Super stoked on this, like, because at the end of the day, like life is relationships. I have a relationship with this crystal on my desk. I have a relationship with you. I have a relationship with my boyfriend. I have a relationship with my job. I have a relationship with my car. I have a relationship with God, AKA, or if you want to call it the universe, like I have relationships to my houseplants, whether it's alive, real, not real, video game, real life, like everything is you relating, right?
Yeah.
And relationships and mastering relationships is really going to lend to your quality of life. And I think if you are a deliberate creator and you like to manifest things, your relationship with the universe could be benefited by having a good one. So absolutely, the journal will definitely help people to improve their relationship with the universe and also improve their relationship with desire and their own dreams and their own personal desires. Because I think sometimes we pick up programming along the way that's like desire is bad and desire is the root of all suffering, and it's not okay for you to want that, and that's never going to happen for you, and blah blah blah,
right. Which leads you to feel it's not safe to want things because they might not happen, so just don't want them.
Yeah. Or it's not safe to want things because they might happen. And I don't know like what that reality is like. So that's scary too,
after that happens too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I know you're talking about like improving your relationship with the universe, but do you think it's even possible to have a bad relationship with the universe? Like, I mean, people say like, oh, the universe hates me. This happens. And I guess I don't feel like it ever wants anything bad for anybody. So what's your opinion there?
So my take on that when you ask the question is, I think your relationship with the universe can be bad in the sense that like you don't like it, or you're mad at it, or you hate your life, or you think you're being punished, or whatever, like on your end. But I think that you're right in saying that the universe doesn't want bad things for you, and it's never out to get you, and it's not trying to punish you, even when it feels like that. Like it's always on your side because you are a part of the universe. You are the universe. You're not the whole universe as one individual, but you are a speck of the universe, right? You're a part of it. So how could the universe want something different than you if you are it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't.
Such a good point that is so often forgotten, as I think people think it's like a ping pong back and forth, but some of that is it's just within us because we
Yeah,
are it.
because we feel that we are separate from it when we are it. We're just like in this conversation, we're playing around with perspectives, right? So we say, I'm writing a letter to the universe, but it's not
Right.
actually like that because
Yeah.
you are the universe, right?
Yeah, I actually have a picture on my wall that I'm looking at right now that is like the silhouette of a woman in almost like a yoga position, and she's full of like stars and things, and it says, feel the universe inside of you. And that's
yeah,
what we all need to
because
do a
I
little bit
mean,
more
if you
of.
think, yeah, if you think about the universe, it's all the energy that makes up everything. It's all the planets, it's all the stardust, it's the cosmos, it's the periodic table of elements. Like all of that stuff is what makes you. So why are you a separate thing that is not part of the universe? That doesn't make any sense to me.
And can you
go ahead.
explain how everything is benefited, like the universe and your own things and everything else, when you succeed at the things that you're trying to manifest?
Yes. And I explained this. I don't remember if I wrote this in Letters to the Universe or the other one, because I wrote them at the same time. So it's all very combobulated in my mind. But somewhere in this book or My Pocket Guide to Manifestation, I wrote a whole chapter on why the universe wants what you want, because you are the universe, but also like it benefits the universe for you to get what you want. Therefore, the universe wants you to get what you want because desire is the vehicle for expansion. Us having ideas and desires is the way that the universe expands outward in all direction, and new creations are made and new ideas are birthed and new ways of being come to humanity. Like this is all from our desire, right? Somebody had the desire to create a light bulb. Somebody had the desire to make an airplane. Somebody had the desire to make a baby. Like these desires are not something that you should be ashamed of or hold back from, because you are adding to the ever unfolding and expansion of the universe.
And then in all of those cases, except the baby, which I don't know really a way to improve upon that, but in most of those cases, like the light bulb has had all sorts of reinvention and like growth in what it's been able to be. Airplanes, there's just all sorts of increases in what's been able to be manifested and achieved because that original first goal was.
Yes. And to add on to that, our desires are not only our desires alone, like our desires match up with other desires. So for example, my desire to write these books matches up with the desire of people to learn this exact information in this exact way. So I would be doing them a disservice of not following my heart, right? Or like your desire to have a child matches up with that soul's desire to come into the world. If you're squashing that, you're saying, nope, you don't get to come into the world through me. Like, who are you to say that if that's your genuine desire,
Right.
So I think it's a very bad idea to squash your genuine desires. And I think it's a very good idea to allow the expansion of the universe to unfold through you via your desires. And when you can achieve or manifest that desire, that's good, because then it opens up space for more, right?
Yes.
So if you want to manifest $1 million, the universe is like, yes, I want you to have that $1 million, because then you get it and you're like, okay, now I want 100,000 million or whatever. And the universe is like, okay, let's do that next. Like this is how the universe expands. So if you are like denying and disowning your desires, you're just resisting your own nature of expansion and growth.
Amen to that. And that's, and you're going to be helping people with that so much through your book and everything, that just working through all of that. And I'm excited to work through it myself. And if people want to, hear more of what you have to say, read your books or learn more about Kelsey, where can they go? Where would you like to send them?
Yeah. So I'll send everyone to kelseyaida.com, because that's my website where you can find everything. But I would recommend whatever podcast platform you're listening on, go check out our other episode on there, High Vibin It. I think it was 128 or 129 where we had you on. But High Vibin It is where you can hear myself and my co-host Lynnsey, who I know you're also going to have on your show.
Yeah.
We have a show there every week that you guys will love if you love this podcast.
Absolutely. It's a great podcast, guys. Go listen to it.
Yeah. And then my books, you can just search for Kelsey Aida, like anywhere where books are sold, and you'll find all the books that I've written. And yeah, if you want to come to the retreat or anything like that, that's all at kelseyyaida.com.
Awesome. Well, I'm so very grateful for the time that you've spent pouring into our listeners today and sharing about manifesting and affirmations and so much more. It was a lot of fun for me. I hope it was for you too.
Me too. I love doing collaborations like this. And I love when I get on a rant and I get all fired up and pumped and I talk about universal stuff. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's so important. It's so important. And it just, it ties into every area of our life. So I'm so grateful that you shared about it more for us today. Thanks, Kelsey.
Thanks for letting me. Bye.
All right. Bye. Thanks so much for listening. If you loved this episode, please share it with a friend or post on social media and tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave action steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. Keep shining your light.